Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, Picky Karen does not want to listen to my explanation. Break it on purpose? Sure, we'll replace it. You need to think long and hard about whether you want this job, okay? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Picky Karen does not want to listen to my explanation. I used to work at a Tex-Mex restaurant, you know, the ones that charge like $12 for a taco. I had a customer come in and she asked for 2 quesadillas that was gluten-free, cheese-free, vegan-free, hell, everything else free. I told her everything we normally put on it and she said no to everything. So basically, all she wanted was our gluten-free wrap with lettuce and tomato. Okay, that is fine, but if I put this like that into the system, it will be $12 a piece. I can just get you a lettuce wrap with tomato and it will be $2.25. I was even going to heat it up a little, the bread, for her. I tried 2 times to explain this to her and she interrupted me and said, I know what I want. I want the quesadilla this way, and if you can't understand this, then go to the manager. So I understood her, got it made the way that she wanted, and brought it out. She gave me a smirk and was like, see, I knew you could do it. That made my blood boil and I was in shock that she was so dense. Once the bill came, she grabbed it and before I could walk away she yelled, excuse me, so loud the surrounding tables all stopped. Yes ma'am, what can I help you with? I asked. Why the hell is it $24 for my 2 quesadillas? Because the price on the menu is $12 each. Yeah, but I didn't get any of the included items. Yes, but you ordered 2 quesadillas. Therefore, that is what you got charged. She of course spoke to the manager who sided with me and the lady paid her bill, the full $24 for those quesadillas. I did not, however, get a tip. Break it on purpose? Sure, we'll replace it. I was recently reminded of this story even though it took place 10 years ago. Background: I worked at a GameStop when GS was still pretty hot. At that point in time we were forced to ask if people wanted to buy a small insurance on every disc we sold. It covered all damage. If people came back with a disc with insurance, we replaced it, no questions asked. Scene: it like 20 minutes till close on a weeknight. I'm doing as much close prep as I can get away with when Dutchbag and his friends enter the store. Obviously bored and just wasting time, but since I'm alone in the store I greet them and let them look around for a bit. He brings up a game to the desk and I ring him up. Would you like to buy insurance on this game? We cover all damages. In a split second, he lights up like he just had the most genius idea in the world. All damage, even if I break it myself, on purpose? Yeah, I can see clear as day where this is going, and so can his friends who start chuckling. I play along. Me, yup, all damage, no matter what. No questions asked. He buys the insurance, I bag it and hand it to him and they walk literally just out of the store before stopping. D pulls out the game, takes out the disc and looks me straight in the eye while he snaps it in half. His friends are dying from laughing. I'm just smiling politely. So he walks back in, hands me the game and goes, this is broken, I'd like a new one. Malicious Compliance. See, our system would warn us in the corner of the screen if we sold the last copy of something. That disc was the last one we had in the store. Me, of course. Unfortunately, I do not have any more copies in store, so I have to have it shipped from one of our other locations. They close in 5 minutes though, as we did, but I will leave a note for the manager to put in a transfer order. It should be here in 3 to 5 workdays. If you write your number here we will call you when it arrives. His friends are wheezing from laughter at this point because it becomes obvious that D totally played himself and now have to wait a week for his game. Lesson: be nice to retail workers. You need to think long and hard about whether you want this job, okay? Context: I work in IT in a very small area where everybody knows each other in one way or another, so networking with people is very important. I got a new job in a private school, partly because I knew the consultant acting as hiring manager at the time, but also because he knew I had skills in Azure and its many cloud components, which was the direction he envisioned the school going. Great stuff. I can do the migration no problem, as I've gone through it twice at previous companies. I started just before the summer holidays, which were 9 weeks at this school. God damn, that sounds. So I spent a bit of time getting to grips with the equipment, network, and just generally settling in. It was a small team of myself, 2 desktop guys, 1 part-time, and the consultant/manager who worked 3 part days, usually about 10 and 2/3 p.m. After about 3 months, the school hired a permanent manager and dropped the consultant after he had handed over all of his responsibilities. Things continued as normal. I worked away on getting the prerequisites in place while juggling some other projects like managed printing and network upgrades. Everything seemed great, although I was being pulled away from my cloud tasks more than I'd like, but figured it was just how things were here with such a small team. Jump forward to December. My 6-month probation was due, so I asked the manager, let's call her D, when we could have a meeting to discuss how things have been and sign off on my probation. She kept putting it off with generic excuses, and it ended up happening in mid-Jan, where she absolutely destroyed me. Instead of talking to me like a reasonable human being, she held up all these microaggressions and spent over 30 unloading them onto me, absolutely crushing my motivation. She also said she doesn't believe the cloud is the right way to go, lol, and that I needed to be better at on-premise infrastructure and networking. I had specifically said during my interviews that networking is my weakest area and that I specialize in cloud computing, so essentially the role I am supposed to be doing has changed entirely to one that I'm not good at. She used this as a way to suggest extending my probation while she creates a new role for me that's more fitting, as I don't have the networking skills she was looking for. I was visibly upset and she left me for a minute, but just before she left she said, you need to think long and hard about if you want this job, because right now you're not performing well enough to keep it. I sat there for about 20 minutes, alone in a side room near our office. Thoughts went through my head, doubting myself, worrying about losing my apartment I bought just 6 months ago if I lost this job. Worrying what my family would think, and just generally how I'd deal with what I felt like was an inevitability. I tried my best with everything I did and she still wasn't happy. So I thought about what she said, do I want this job? No. So that night I signed up with all the local job agencies, frequently checked job sites, and all the time I was at work, I acted like she'd helped me see my errors and that I was working on them to prove myself to her. Actually, I hated her guts and couldn't stand being in the same room as her. I hadn't taken any of my annual leave days as I had no money after spending all my savings on my apartment, so I didn't see the point in taking time off to sit around. She nagged me about this, constantly saying I'd lose it if it wasn't taken, blah blah blah, like I didn't already know how holidays work. I booked a big block of 3 weeks at the end of May as we had family coming to visit. This is relevant later. About 2 months later, I booked a couple days holiday to attend an interview. Obviously I just told her I fancied a long weekend. I got the job. Not only was it more engaging and relevant to my area of expertise, but it was a tasty $7,000 pay rise with a bonus scheme up to 25% annually. Sweet. I come back in on Monday ready to hand my notice in, but she's booked a meeting with me while I was off for 10 a.m. to discuss my new role. I have my notice in an envelope and bring that to the meeting. She starts with pretty much saying, you've gotten a bit better, but still not good enough for this job, so I'd like to propose dash. I cut her off and hand her the envelope. She opens it, reads it, and says, oh. Okay, Ha. She says, okay, well your notice period is a month, so your final day will be 8th of June. I counter with, actually, I think you'll find that while on my probation period it's actually only 2 weeks, which brings it to the 25th of May, which is also a public holiday, as is the 24th, so my last day is actually the 23rd of May. She tries to say I'd passed probation, but I remind her of the letter I signed agreeing to the extension and that I hadn't signed any contract for this new role yet. A bit of back and forth, and she finally concedes. I also remind her that I had almost the entirety of my annual leave, which has to be paid to me when I leave, as my finish date was before they were to be taken. As the school was going through a big cost-saving exercise, this would look really bad on her. She asked me to take them instead of working my notice, which I declined. I'd rather tolerate her for 8 more days and get paid for a full month's pay on top of my normal salary. She reluctantly agreed and said she's going to go talk to HR and let them know. On the way out of the meeting, I thanked her for helping me out in January. She looked at me confused, so I reminded her that I needed to think long and hard about whether I wanted this job, and I decided that no, I didn't, and found a much better package elsewhere. Now I have my own office, complete with coffee machine and mini fridge, staff who work with me on projects, and time to work on Azure features like I'm supposed to. All while getting paid considerably more. Thanks, Dee. P.S. She got the boot 3 months after I left. Apparently she clashed with a lot of the teaching staff with her management style. Guess I wasn't the only one who didn't get on with her. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.